Yeah, it's a good question. So whether you're an agent, you're a builder, developer, most people are, hey, I'm a builder, and that's their whole personality, it's their whole brand. Whereas what we focus on figuring out is what is it that gets people to trust you when you are talking to them in a room? Meaning when you're at the dinner table, you're talking about your family, you're talking about your personal interests. Realtor for a big MLS soccer team. They don't introduce themselves as, hey, I'm a realtor. They're a TV host. They're a community connoisseur. They're the person that can connect you to the mayor, and they happen to sell real estate. That's the difference. If you don't have that growth-minded approach, that mindset when you're running your business, then content, no matter how good it is, won't help you either. The way we look at content is it's like a multiplier. It's an amplifier.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So to answer your question is like, how do you get someone to stand out? You don't start with standing out through content. You start with standing out with a really strong reason as to why someone should work with you. Why should they work with you versus someone else? And that starts with the actual brand marketing strategy.
I think like operationally though, how you like as well, you can break this down for every agent so that they can kind of find what specifically is their thing. If you look at my content, you don't see this as much on YouTube, but you see this quite a bit online. Like I'm also a power lifter, so that's a core pillar of like what did powerlifting teach me about business.
Before we begin the podcast, I have one small favor to ask. If you could hit the subscribe button so that we could reach more real estate agents every single week. Thank you.
So how is that for agents? You want to create video to drive an emotional connection or content, essentially content to drive an emotional connection. How would you go about doing that as an agent?
Yeah, it's a good question. So whether you're an agent, you're a builder, developer, most people are, hey, I'm a builder. Hey, I'm an agent. And that's their whole personality. It's their whole brand. Whereas what we focus on figuring out is what is it that gets people to trust you when you are talking to them in a room? Meaning when you're at the dinner table, you're talking about your family, you're talking about your personal interests. There's things that you talk about that builds that trust that has nothing to do with what you do in work, whether it's real estate or building. And what we're focused on is what are those 3 to 5 pillars that we can extract, use to build the brand that is beyond just you are a realtor. For example, one of our biggest clients, they're the official um, realtor for a big MLS soccer team. And they don't introduce themselves as, hey, I'm a realtor. They're a TV host. They're a community connoisseur. They're the person that can connect you to the mayor, and they happen to sell real estate. That's the difference maker. And if you don't have that growth minded approach, that mindset when you're running your business, then content, no matter how good it is, won't help you either. The way we look at content is it's like a multiplier. It's an amplifier. If you're not already good and you already don't have substance, then multiplying it is like multiplying by 0. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So to answer your question is like, how do you get someone to stand out? You don't start with standing out through content. You start with standing out with a really strong reason as to why someone should work with you. Why should they work with you versus someone else? And that starts with the actual brand marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then nothing else afterwards really is impactful. If you do have the strong strategy, knowing who you serve and why you're the best at serving them, then yes, the amplifiers like the content will actually be really helpful to you.
Okay. I think like operationally though, how you like as well, you can break this down for every agent so that they can kind of find what specifically is their thing. Like I'll give you a good example for me. If you look at my content, you don't see this as much on YouTube, but you see this quite a bit on like LinkedIn, for example. Like I'm also a power lifter, so that's a core pillar of like what did powerlifting teach me about business? Because it's something relatable. It's like you can have your pillars, but they need to relate to something so that you have almost rapport building. Like I think of it from a sales perspective. If someone starts talking about their new truck that they bought, you go, oh, I didn't know that. So now you're building a connection because they want to tell you about it. And it's the same thing in social media.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of your personal connections that you make or the things that make you connect over the social media will be, how can I connect in a way that's like relevant to me personally? So you mentioned bodybuilding or powerlifting. What would that mean for another agent? Maybe that's sports. Maybe that's they're equestrian. They like horses. usually there's a group of people just like themselves, even down to their age and demographic. And this is especially important for realtors because they're working with other people like themselves. Less important for like maybe a company, but especially for those realtors, it could be that you are so good at selling $1 million houses, but there's another agent that can just relate to them better. And that's just the matter. That's the reality. And sometimes you need to have that open conversation with maybe you don't need to chase that luxury market that you think you need to because you think you're just going to make more money there. Maybe you need to find your niche of maybe you're a little older and you can work with the people that are downsizing. Who can you relate to most and connect with best? It's going to be where you can drive the best results.
That's very, very true. What would you say to an agent who is purely about ROI? So let's say they're not trying to just do this for a living. They're trying to make a ton of money, come in, get out. Would you still say to not go into the luxury market if they can relate to another market?
Well, I think there's kind of two questions in there, and I think that you really have to ask why you're doing what you're doing. And if you're going to come in to do anything just for the short term, quick return, I mean, borderline keeping within the boundaries of being ethical, it's you can do ads, or the paid advertising like Zillow and stuff. Sure, that will probably get you some quick money. But I would really just push that person to ask them like, why are you doing this in the first place? If you're really just being short-term minded and you're trying to get that quick cash today to do something else, I always would tell that person just go do that next thing right now. Like, there's no reason to waste your time and other people's time.
Absolutely.
I don't really have an answer of like how would you
Yeah.
do it the short term because that's not we don't do that. We don't work with people like that.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And that's the reason why our clients can actually succeed because we help them think long term. Most agents are thinking like 2 to 4 weeks out. We're helping our clients think 2 to 4 years out, if not more.
Yeah, I see that a lot as well. A lot of agents who do want to make the money in the very, very short term, come in, come out, or just in real estate for the money, which is part of the reason why I asked the question. I would say I'm very
Yeah.
similar in that. Like, it's very hard. I'm very on the SEO side. Like, I just can't work with someone who's short term minded, short
Hmm.
sighted, I guess. Like, just can't. And so it's very difficult. So let's say someone's in that cycle where they're only thinking 2 to 4 weeks out. I just need to get a closing. I just need to get a closing. I just need to get a closing. What would you say to that person to bring them to think long term?
Well, I found that a lot of times you can't get someone to think long term, and that's one of our prerequisites. They have to be a long term thinker. And I do that on purpose because we have a line of people waiting to work with us. So we don't focus on trying to convince people to see the value of long term thinking. If you don't see the value of long term thinking for yourself, I'm definitely not going to be able to convince you. But on the question of ROI, when with a client, of course, that is real long-term thinking, they have a short-term ROI and a long-term ROI. And especially because we're brand focused, yes, there's going to be possible short-term ROIs where in the first 30 months you get that $1 million transaction or a volume transactions. Whereas let's say if you look on a 2 or 5 year horizon, yes, you're going to get more production, but then you start seeing a return on investment of people trust you to the point where they want to join your team, and that's going to double your production. And there's a lot of things that happen. And the longer you invest into it on the longer time horizon, it starts to compound. So I would challenge them into thinking, hey, I want to get an immediate return. I'm like, okay, if your goal is to hit this in 5 years, then what are you willing to sacrifice and invest into to be able to hit that long-term goal? Um, and sometimes that means losing and not having an ROI in the short term.
That's very true. What do you do? Run any paid ads at all, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
What about on the paid ad side? Because paid ads are basically money in, money out. That's the entire equation. I'm assuming you're running that in a short term, or do you also run ads for a long term ROI?
Whoever is able to think, I'll give you an example and I'll get back to the ad question. Our company is thinking so long term to the point where I'm not even afraid to talk to my competitors. I'll sit down and tell them everything I'm doing because I know that they're short term thinking. And no matter what they do, they could copy everything I do that a T will still win because we're thinking longer term. Even on ads, most ad companies, and I understand that there's an aspect of this, you have to have the short term wins. most of the ad companies or agents are investing into that 3% of people that are ready to buy or sell today. And that's also where the Zillows and the Realtor.coms fall in. That's the most expensive way to do it and the hardest way, because those people are already in the market and they're skeptical of anyone reaching out to them because they know people are trying to get their business. It's a red ocean. If you can invest that money into who can I invest into that will be buying in 6 months, there's a order of magnitude less people advertising for those people. And so when in 6 months that person's not part of that 3% ready to buy or sell today, you've already won their trust. And the example I give is, let's say an advertising company, they're trying to advertise for the keyword realtor in Sydney, Australia, or realtor in New York City. You're trying to get up on that list. That's very expensive. If you were to have built trust with that person 6 months ago, that person shouldn't even be searching for realtors in New York City. They should be searching for Timothy Zaritskyy, realtor, and finding my phone number that way because they already know who I am. That's the paradigm shift that we tell our clients, where don't be like everyone else, don't compete there. And that, of course, then translates to our ads are not ads to get you paid and become a millionaire tomorrow. It's to build that brand that will compound, and the way I get them to convince themselves that this is worth it is when you invest into ads in the short term, like Zillow, even social media, you're investing into that company. The moment you turn those ads off, you have nothing else. If you focus on building your brand, you are investing into yourself. It's going to compound year over year, and it's going to be something that nobody can take away from you.
That's 100% accurate. That's almost like 4AT. Like that conversation is what I have with agents on a daily of like, dude,
Yeah.
we're thinking here. We want money in, money out. And like that's kind of how you have to run certain ads. They're just kind of the nature of it, especially on Google. When you're running search ads, you almost have to just because they're so expensive. But then on the flip side of the coin, we have the SEO, and we're like, okay, dude, we're going to hit them 3 years before they're ready to buy. We're just going to ask for an email, send them more information. And by the time they're ready to buy or sell, they've been reading your newsletter for 3 years. They know you. So it
Hmm.
also no longer becomes a game of sales. It becomes a game of helping people because there's so many people that want to work with you that
Hmm.
you can just, okay, this is the person I want to help. This is the person I want to help versus constantly the 2 week, 4 week cycle of like, where's the next client? Where's the next client? Where's the next client?
Absolutely, yeah. And also the people that are actually, there's a difference when you're working with people that are going from 0 to 1. They're just getting off the ground. And that is a different approach. Yes, your short-term wins, you have to scrape by whatever you can, but we're not typically working with those people. I'm not sure if that's the category we're talking about. But when you're going from 1 to 2, you already have a base, you're scaling, or in other words, um, that's a whole different conversation. They can afford to think long term. Now, if you as a new agent can't afford to be able to do that, there's other ways for you to be able to get that. It could even be you need to get a part-time job so that you know you have money in the bank so that you're not building your business the wrong way. And if you're building it the wrong way from the beginning, where you're on ads or in person, just like in everybody's face trying to get a next new deal, you're going to push people away. You're going to build a reputation that you don't want, and that is very hard to then undo. It's better to still think long term at the beginning and do whatever it takes to do that. Meaning maybe getting a part-time job.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. The other thing that I see a lot is like agents that are stuck in, like as you kind of said, like the 1 to 2 spot, is they almost all of them go from 0 to 1 with like referrals, like some sort of direct response marketing, and then they think
Hmm.
that's what's going to work. So they instantly go into Zillow, and now they're a Zillow Flex or Zillow Premier agent, and that's all they do. And so they're just kind of stuck in that cycle. And they can't figure out how
Yeah.
to go past because basically all of the ads that they're being sent are 40% referral fee, 40% referral fee, 40% referral fee. And so you just assume that's the right way to go.
Yeah, yeah, and at that point, you have to think about who you're working with. And we have the same challenge with builders. I love agents. I worked with a lot of them. But when a builder is relying on an agent, paying them that 3% commission to bring them the client, yes, it's great. It's convenient that you got the client, you sold the property. But even if it's the best realtor in the world, at the end of the day, they're building their own brand. They're telling their own story, not the builder's story. And so if you could invest half of that 3% into your personal company brand year over year, it's going to produce that much better results where now people are coming to you not because of a realtor, but because of your brand. And then you don't have the price shoppers of, hey, who can build this house for the least amount of money? You'll get the people that ask, who can I build that can build my vision? Or I'm willing to spend 10% premium on a house to get it done right the first time. And everyone on the outset will say all the same stuff. We're good quality, we're good on time and communication, and same thing with realtors. They all say the same thing. And yet, when it comes to investing in it, they're not willing to invest into it a lot of times. And that's where those few percent of people that are willing to invest in it, that's why there's such a big disparity between who's winning and who's not.
I agree. I think the other thing that's so weird about this that you kind of like hinted at, but didn't explicitly say was if you don't say that you are the guy that is on time, if you don't say that you are the guy that is premium, you just come off more premium and on time.
Mhm.
Because
Show them, don't tell them.
exactly. It just comes off as an expectation. And especially if that's your brand, right? That's just how it goes. So I wanted to circle back as well on branding and get really deep in this. So context here. This is more of a selfish question than it is for agents, but this will be really good for agents as well. I just rebranded. I'm going from more of like it was more of like a growth, help you grow kind of thing, to more of a luxury, very premium. Hence the nice shirt, hence the background, right? Like it's very attention to detail. So what specifically in a brand, social media wise, are you looking for, and why is that important visually?
Real estate agents, we've all been there. One cold call away from quitting. No leads, no listings. Just a phone, a script, and a prayer. Crickets. That's when I stopped begging and started learning. I taught myself SEO and Google Ads and used that knowledge to help a local agent build a system. One that took me from a broke college kid to generating closings on autopilot. But this isn't magic. It's work, strategy, and systems. And I want to show you how it's done without wasting 2 years like I did. We've done this for legendary real estate services, from 5 leads a month to $40,000 commission checks on lakefront closings in just 90 days. Or Rick from Vision's First Realty, who's skeptical of SEO, is now ranking organically and closing weekly from Google. Listen, this isn't a course, this isn't a pitch, it's a real audit. I'll break down your site, ad copy, SEO, and show you exactly why your pipeline isn't converting. There's no BS, there's no scripts. It's just tactical feedback and the exact frameworks we use. Frameworks that have already added $121,000 in commission last month alone. If you're tired of hoping for leads and ready to build a system that works when you're not, book the 15-minute website audit and let's fix the leaks.
Can you clarify what you mean, like what we're looking for to have in our brand or
Yes.
in an agent's brand?
In an agent's brand or in your brand, either one, or give me both.
Yeah.
What specifically visually are the cues that you're looking for to really reinforce the brand?
One of the things that we're really good at is the property videos that agents typically do. And visually speaking, one of the criteria that we decide if is this a good video or not is, have we learned about the agent just as much as about the property by the end of the video? And when I say learn about the agent, I'm referring to their personality. Can I get a sense of what it would be like to talk to them in person based on the script, the choice of music? And that's just one video, but on a overall global brand scale, we have to have whatever that theme is of your brand, whether it's really attached to your founder story or maybe your vision of where you're going. You want to make sure that visually all of those things are aligned to that one aspect. People say that we have a short attention span, maybe 3 seconds. We also have a short memory span, maybe 3 months. And you have to make sure that visually and in content, what you're saying, your brand is repeating itself every 3 months, essentially. Not just because people forget, but because you don't want to have mixed messaging. And I think that when it comes to luxury brands or the big brands, one of the reasons why they're able to be so big is because of the simplicity of their message. They don't have 1,000 things they're trying to tell you. They're telling you one or two things. And I really like with Mercedes, and this is a very visual thing, their logo. I love how their logo, it looks timeless to the point where if you look at their 1930s cars from the like 100 years ago and today, the cars are way different. The logo is the same. So what is that one or two, three main things that will never change? Whether I'm an ad agency owner or I'm a growth company owner or I'm an investor in real estate, there's certain things that will not change. Same thing with you have to ask like, do you even have those things as a realtor? If you don't, then you don't have a brand. You're just a license number.
Yeah, I think that's especially true, especially like what you noted on luxury. It's all simple. Like the brand is just two or three things. And I also want to know, I don't necessarily think it's the logo as much, especially in real estate, as it is just your face. Like that almost becomes the logo. If people walk into a room,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I mean, I was just talking about brands in general, but yeah, logo in real estate is not as important.
Yeah, I was just tying it together. I'm saying you're right. Like,
Yeah.
it's super important that you have the brand as well for the long-term ROI. So it all just goes down. Like, if I walk in a room, I need people to associate me with these things. And in the video, I should be not necessarily saying those things, but implying those things.
Yeah.
One thing that I've always heard a lot as well on personal brands is a good personal brand is just a way on social media where when that person walks in the room, there should be no surprises. And I think that was Alex Hormozy. What are your thoughts on that?
Mhm. Absolutely. That's why you can't have a brand where you look one way on another on the line and you're totally different in person. Um, that bait and switch is not going to serve you well, and that also requires you back to long-term thinking. You have to think longer term about your brand, at least a year out. And when you do that, it actually allows you to be outside of trends, right? Because if you're just thinking in the moment, you're going to be at the will of whatever trend is next. That's so important to avoid. And when it comes to building your personal brand, I think it's so important to make sure that you're actually asking yourself those questions like, why am I the one that's going to be the difference maker in those people's lives?
That's a really good question. That's very true.
Most people don't ask themselves like why what they do matters. They just kind of assume people will know.
I agree. I think that's one thing that I think is off in our space. You mentioned it at the beginning. You see a lot of like especially in the marketing space, and you kind of mentioned specifically with agencies of like there are a lot of guys who come in, make 10K a month, quick cash cow, leave. But they don't ask, how am I helping other people? Like, I think one of the weird things with helping real estate agents with marketing is real estate is a very personal industry. You know everyone. Like we mentioned relationships. Like I'm kind of getting out of the relationship area and just kind of letting my staff do more of that. But even still, the people that I built a relationship with, it's like, okay, so I'm helping them get this and get that. So one, for example, we were talking, like they're taking their kids to Disney World and they wanted more time to take their kids to Disney World. And so I'm helping them get time back so that they can do that. It's a very tangible thing that you are helping them achieve. And it doesn't have to be exactly what someone else wants, but it's they can relate it themselves. So if I tell that story, they go, oh, maybe I want more time back. This is for me.
Absolutely.
Have you heard of building a StoryBrand?
I believe so. Yeah.
What do you know?
I've seen their Instagram videos.
Yeah. What do you know about it?
I just know they have like a framework, but I haven't looked too much into it.
You should read the book. It's really, really good. It's almost exactly what you're talking about, but it's even more in depth. It dives into like, so I think my favorite part is you should act as a guide, not as someone who's going to do it for them. Like even if it's a done for you service, you should be the guide. So in real estate, You should be like Yoda from Star Wars
Hmm.
versus like Anakin
Hmm.
or Luke, right?
Hmm.
So it gets into the nuances there.
Yeah. I think one thing that people don't when it comes to being the guide, one of the things that was really transformed our business when we were starting off, nobody knew us. Obviously, you try to reach out to people, you cold call, it doesn't work. I realized that if I positioned myself as the expert, where people run into me, now they're coming to me, I'm their expert. Um, it allows you to shift the conversation. And that's also back to what I mentioned. I don't spend time trying to convince someone to work with us because if I did convince them, it's my convincing, not their own, and therefore they're not as committed as they should be to really genuinely have great results. And because the results aren't for me, it's for them. It's for their business, not mine. And a lot of people don't think about positioning. It's one of the most powerful things. For example, you could say you're a luxury real estate agent sitting with a green screen backdrop. I'm not convinced. You could be a luxury real estate agent in front of a luxury property, and that gives us a completely different element. So back to the showing, not telling people, you have to show them that you're the expert. Don't tell them. You have to show them that you're a guide. Show them how you're guiding others through it. And one of my favorite ways to show people that I could know what I'm talking about is by the level of questions that I ask. It's so much more powerful to ask the right questions to where you show that you understand their deepest, darkest needs as a business, as opposed to telling them the same information.
Dude, yeah, asking the questions is 100% true. I think that's the biggest thing that I see in sales, just in general, that really, really irks me. Of like, you have guys who will just convince them to buy, where it's like sales is just asking the questions so that they realize that they have a problem and want to work with you. That's it.
Hmm.
Like it's that simple. You want to guide them to the right solution. You don't want to make them take that solution, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I
So
think that
good.
go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah, the think of it as in the terms of you want to get someone to go out of their way to try to work with you because they need it that bad. If they don't, if they're not going out of their way, they're excited, they're asking, when can I sign up? Man, make sure we don't miss the chance to work together. Then you're probably not convincing, you're probably not showing them enough of what you do, or maybe you're not providing enough of value. If they're just kind of like, otherwise you won't cross into from that threshold of you're a vendor into I'm a partner. Or in the case of an agent, from an agent to I'm a genuine how do I even partner or friend almost to their life. And that's the difference. And that difference, if you take that extra 10% of effort or 20% of effort to really um, cross that threshold, then that's the difference between getting just another transaction versus getting a raving client that will send you five more clients over the next year. And the thing is, most agents don't realize, and this is back to the advertising, yes, you can try to increase and get more clients this year. And you did 10 deals, let's do 20 more. But what if you focus on building your relationships with your current clients, making sure they don't leave you, and getting an extra referral per client? You can double your business without doing any external advertising.
That's
And
very,
most
very
people
true.
don't have, they need to start there before they start advertising.
Yeah, my last, I think, almost five podcasts were just how do we get referrals in real estate? And the thesis of that entire thing is help them. Like, that's it. You had like Amy Stockberger, North Dakota. She's the number one real estate agent, or South Dakota. South Dakota. Her entire business model is bring people in with a real estate. So she does very direct response, top of funnel marketing, bring people in. And then her back end is literally like, dude, you get a bouncy house for your kids for the rest of your life if you work with us. Well, now who are you going to think of? Right? They're getting so much value from it. There's a couple
Hmm.
other examples like that. But yeah, like so much of marketing isn't actually the marketing, it's what happens after.
Yeah. That's why if you back to the quote I mentioned or the comment, if you have no substance, you can't amplify nothing. We always say the best known beat the best. and our role and job is to make sure that the best are the best known. And the problem is that a lot of the people that are really, really good at what they're doing, they're not telling their story enough. And so they're being out marketed by the people that aren't necessarily the best, but they're just louder. And what's really amazing to see is when you talk to the person that's really good at what they do and you start helping them amplify what they're doing, it just makes a night and day difference between everyone else.
That's so true. It's so true. For you, as a business, you said you're looking to grow a significant amount. I don't know if you want to say like how much on the podcast, but what is your back end looking like to help you achieve that growth?
One of the goals I have or rules I put in place is I have it on my desk is to there's a few of them, but one of them is working with people, through people, and for people. And part of what that means is I'm not allowed to do certain things. I'm not allowed to, this isn't even a question anymore, but let's say a year ago, I'm not allowed to pick up a camera. I'm not allowed to do certain things. And I have to do it through people, which forces you to think longer term, thinking about who is the people that are going to help us get to where we need to go. And our vision is, I don't even know what the figure is, but it's we want to be a nationwide company, and it's not even about nationwide. It's about being the number one partner of any real estate developing company that wants to bring a big vision into place. And that could even mean a city. If a city like where we're at right now, it's the fastest growing city in the US. Most people don't know that. Their story isn't being told, and it's in Columbus, Ohio. Um, Imagine if their story was told, how much more impact that would have generationally. We are the people to do that.
I love it. I love it.
Now, in terms of backend system, one of the things I think is we're really looking into is AI, and I know that everyone's talking about it, but I'm retraining our team to rewire how we think to integrate into AI. For example, like instead of sending me an email, send it to me through ChatGPT. Um, and collaborate together on there. And it's incredible. I don't know if it's worth going into detail, but it's incredible what you can do there. And I was interviewing, for example, a marketing director. He's $150,000 a year, at least. That's his starting pay. I asked him, how long would it take us to do this marketing launch? And he's like, oh, it's going to take 45 to 60 days. And I thought to myself, like, I thought about it. I'm like, I could get it done in a day through AI, and I did it. And by the time I had a follow-up meeting with him, I had everything done. Um, that's the pace at which, if you wanted to join our team, you have to work at, but also the pace that's necessary if you want to compete with us.
That's yeah. AI is so crazy. Like my team, we were talking about this. We only have one guy in ops and a part-time virtual assistant. It's our
Hmm.
entire operation. And the thing about that is we can do it because we've just spent so much time on the systems for AI where he can put in a 60, 80-hour week and he can service 20 clients.
Hmm.
Like, and granted, I have the advantage of I'm in content, like typed content a lot because SEO is very text heavy. But even with the ads where they're visual, we can get them done really fast using AI. And we have a
Hmm.
unique like mechanism on doing that. But it's just a game changer. How
Hmm. For sure.
specifically are you using AI in video though? I see a lot of the new AI video models are getting really, really good. You see a lot of AI editing, AI copywriting. How are you specifically implementing it currently?
Actually, I don't, not too much. I'm not too familiar on the editing side. I know there's a lot of things that happen with like Topaz and like a lot of stuff that would be done by hand, AI can do faster now. But one of the biggest things that we're really doing AI is imagine if each client has their own AI that understands everything about them so that if one of our team members in a meeting hears them say, oh, man, I had this big event happen in my life, our AI catches it and sends them a handwritten card within the next 2 days. That's the level of service that we like amplifying the service that we already do on a much bigger scale. AI can help us do things that aren't scalable at scale, which means that it's a night and day difference between, imagine a corporation like Chase being able to send handwritten cards to people. That's what it's going to allow us to do. And it's not quite there yet, but we're taking steps towards building our services to where I, as a founder, when I was doing things that weren't scalable, making those comments and things like that when we were smaller, I want us to be able to 10x our company and still be able to do that.
100%. Yeah, it's so weird. Are you having, what are you doing with your team? Because I'm assuming like they're just getting more and more efficient. Are you just bringing clients in to support said team? Or like how are you restructuring the team to support AI?
In what way? What do you mean?
So one thing that I've been doing is like I have to move this guy from say Instagram and managing Instagram and LinkedIn to now he's also going to manage YouTube. So the person who was managing YouTube has to move elsewhere.
I see. We're not really doing that because, like, just this week alone, we hired 5 people. We are not like downsizing. I'm not
Yeah.
using AI as a way to not have to hire people.
Yeah.
I'm using AI as to amplify them. I'm gonna, like, if God gives life, we're gonna have a couple hundred people working at our company in the next 5 years. I'm not looking to have AI do all of that work on its own. If it can, great. Then we can achieve that much bigger results. I'm not trying to build as small of a company as possible. I'm trying to make as big of an impact as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, you're bringing in a lot of people then, especially like, I mean, I know it's a service business, but that's a lot of people.
Yeah, 5 people onboarding this. Well, confirmed. Some of them onboarding, some of them onboarding a little bit later, but we're
Okay.
5 people this week.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, like what's so weird is, especially like you're way ahead of me for sure, but like especially where I'm at, we're just so lean. Like we're finally bringing in a second operations person. Like just now. Everything else is social media, managing accounts, being able to message everyone back, like that type of thing. It's so
Yeah.
it's just a different game, I think.
I think that I do know what you're talking about because when we were at that stage a couple of years ago, we we were making a lot of money relatively to what we were, or we were very profitable, I should say. We were very lean, probably understaffed. And it was like, oh wow, we're doing so great, we're making all this profit. When in reality, it wasn't really and I'm not saying this is where you're at, this is where I was at. It wasn't really a business in the sense that it couldn't function on its own, and we didn't have as much AI back then. But what we're focused on now is reinvesting and actually growing in infrastructure. So we're hiring to grow and being able to open up our capacity to be able to take on the city of Columbus, to work on a national scale, to do big projects that you need people to do it. There's no way around it. And because here's the thing, some people are focused on how can I use AI to do everything, and then there's no people working, which, okay, AI can do a lot, it can do a lot, but AI with people can do so much more. And so if there's a company competing that's doing just AI, they're just bare minimum people just to get all through AI, they can do a lot more than we could do in the past with a bunch of people, and it's much more lean, it's much more profitable. But when a company comes in with a very strong driven vision, strong leadership team, hardworking people, and then they're also leveraging AI, you can't beat that.
That's so true.
Because AI is it makes the playing field level. Everyone has access to ChatGPT, but it's the people that allow it to be that much better. Like I bet you my ChatGPT is better than most people's, and it's not because I'm better. It's just I probably spend my full-time hours on ChatGPT.
Dude, that's my ChatGPT. I have one called Well Seasoned Andrew, and I've had it since basically when I first got ChatGPT. So when ChatGPT 3 just first came out and it was free, or not, I don't know if it was free to the public, but it was released to the public. And I finally hit the capacity on that. And that thing was so good with my tone. I could tell it, write me a LinkedIn post, and it would do it almost word for word what I would write.
Mhm.
It's creepy.
Yeah, it could do everything.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and one thing that like on the AI side as well, that we're using in operations that just makes us so efficient is we have 2 ChatGPTs per each client. So we have one where we train them on us so they can ask it questions. And they're like, okay, like what's going on here? And we train it with the data. So we do Loom video updates every twice a week. And so it's trained on all that data. So if they're like, how are the ads doing? Can you explain why this metric is here? They can just ask it. They don't even have to go to us. And the other
Okay,
one
that's awesome.
is for us internally to build out essentially what's going on the back end. And so it's
Hmm.
just super efficient.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Are you doing anything like that for clients at all? In terms of
Um,
go ahead.
we have a few ways we're doing it. One of the things, for example, is we're building out a ChatGPT for our sales team. So every transcript, every call, every objection, it's going to be uploaded to there so that they could train with it. Same thing with, yeah, like if you have a specific like a chat for each client so that they can interact with their KPIs and they see our dashboard of everything we're doing for them, but then they can also talk to it. Absolutely, yeah. We're definitely going that direction.
Yeah. Dude, it's a life hack. I'm telling you. The amount of texts I get every time like I wake up where there's just fire burning, like way less now. Way, way
Yeah.
less. I love it. All right, man. I know you have limited time. So where would you like to send people?
I think I would love for you guys to check out our video interviews and podcasts. You can look up my name on Instagram, Timothy Zaritskyy. You'll see a lot of content. It's not specifically to our business, but just my approach to how I do life. It's a faith-based approach. It's a living life to the excellence approach. And then, of course, we do interview some pretty cool people. I'm getting ready to interview our governor. Getting ready to, I think I interviewed the CEO of Hobby Lobby. Some pretty cool people that share the values that I have and show people a different way to approach life that is typically not mainstream, but I think it's the best way to do it.
I love it. All right, man. It was a pleasure.